base is dropped on what feels like the Pacific Northwest because it's still raining in Atlanta, Georgia. I don't know why. I'm tired of it. Can we please stop this, Mother Nature? It's a rainy Friday morning in Atlanta. Soccer Down Here is live. Friday flashback edition. We're going to get into your favorite goals. Favorite goals you saw live, favorite goals you were in the building for, favorite goals that you watched on TV, your favorite goals of all time. And if you have clips, if you have links to YouTube, share those with us. Share those with everybody who is listening. That'll be lots of fun. I always like seeing different goals that maybe I missed, maybe I didn't see, maybe it didn't have the same meaning to me. So looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with there. Also, at 10 o'clock, we'll have Tony Annan join us, Atlanta United's Academy Director, all the way from Germany. He is preparing the U19s for the prestigious Mercedes-Benz Junior Cup. Atlanta is trying to become the first non-German team to win this tournament since Manchester United did it with a guy, Marcus Rashford. You might have heard of him. He played in this. Lots of big-time players have played in this event, and Atlanta United is the first MLS team to participate. So we'll get into all that with Tony and why this type of deal is, very important for the development of these players, and we'll talk about the current academy season and how things are going for Atlanta United. But, guys, lots of stuff happened yesterday. Lots of announcements, lots of different things were on the cards. We had official announcements of Guillermo Barros-Schelotto. We had a press conference in L.A. We had official stuff with Dave Sarachan in Cary, North Carolina, introduced as the new manager of North Carolina FC. And Veljko Paunovic is back with the Chicago Fire. And this was the one I wanted to start with because we talked about it recently. Rumors of a 3-year deal for him, and it kind of is, but I think they handled it right. It's a 2-year deal with an option. We talked about it a lot as the season went on, John. Like the Fire had a bad season in Veljko's first year, a good season, although a bad finish in 2017, and then a bad 2018 that had a lot of injuries to it, had a lot of issues with it, and the team played well at the end, and I think the way they performed when players were healthy at the end of the season is probably what earned Veljko Paunovic another contract with the Fire.
Yeah, and the way that I look at the 3 that's there, or 2 plus 1, however you want to phrase it, is that if you're going to re-up, yeah, and if you're given the idea of, okay, yeah, we want you back, if they give you a 1, you're like, okay, that's really not a whole lot of confidence in me. If they give you a 2, then you're like, okay, there's some confidence there. I can work with what I've got, and I can continue to grow what I have. And then the 2 plus 1 is that if the first 2 don't work out, then they can sit there and go, okay, well, let's cut bait. Or if the first 2 do work out, then you can sit there and go, okay, we'll give you the third. So I understand the logic behind the 2 plus 1. And if you're looking at the Chicago Fire group toward the end of the year, I want to see what the Chicago Fire are like with a healthy Jordi Mihailovic, first and foremost.
Yeah.
And I want to see, for me, that is the one that I circle. And I want to see how it goes from there with that group. So I get the 2 plus 1 in that regard.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think it's the right way to go, and you nailed it with the fact that if you just give somebody 1 year, it's a little hard to plan anything. And in MLS, without the threat of relegation, you should be given multiple years if you're not a title contender. And I don't think Chicago's a title contender in 2019. But, Jarrett, this is a direct quote from the press release from the Chicago Fire, and this quote is attributed to Veljko Paunovic. Get ready to lift the trophy this year. Thoughts?
I mean, look, every team goes into a season hoping to lift the trophy. So good on him for being optimistic. I don't know if it's realistic right now, given what they have, but then again, it's January, 4th now? I've lost track of the days already. We're 4 or 5 days into the year, and I don't even know anymore. The thing is, Chicago has some work to do on that roster to be there. Even if Mihailovic is, able to stay healthy, I think they still have some work they need to do. So it's showing faith in him, but there are other issues in Chicago that need to be dealt with on and off the field. So still a little bit of work to do. But I mean, if you had a market where you've had success in the past, where championship might help some. Chicago's pretty high on that list right now. They
finished second to the bottom in the Eastern Conference in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for confidence, and he said before that it's all about the conviction, trust, and unity. Yeah, absolutely. But when you're already having problems with your fan base, and this is something Chicago absolutely has to deal with going forward, and now that you have your manager locked in, this should be priority number 1, 2, and 3 to resolve some of these issues with the fan base. But when you're having those issues and you say something like this, I mean, really? Like, I don't think that's the right approach at this point, because what is there in Velko's 3 years with a record of 31, 46, and 25? What is there to show you that 2019 a trophy will be lifted in Chicago? And when you say this and you can't make it happen, I think that looks a little worse.
Mm-hmm.
I was really surprised by that being in there. I just don't think it's a good look. This is also from the press release, and I thought this was some epic work by the communication staff. I mentioned the record. I said during his first 3 seasons with the Fire, Paunovic produced a 31, 46, and 25 regular season record. In 2017, he guided the club to the 3rd best overall record, 16, 11, and 7, in MLS, securing the Men in Red's first appearance in the MLS Cup playoffs since 2012. And then this one just kind of cracked me up. Paunovic was also named head coach of the 2017 MLS All-Star team, which featured 4 players from the Fire's roster in the side's match against Real Madrid at Soldier Field. He was named head coach of that because the game was in Chicago. Like that's the only reason.
Details, schmetails.
Hometown sentence machine.
I mean, there was no selection. There was no process.
It was an anointing.
It was, the game's in Chicago. Hey, Velko, you're the guy. Pick your players. And, you get to pick 4 players. And it should have been 5 players from the Fire's roster on that team because David Accam should have been on it. And go ask him about it and see what he has to say. Yeah. Chicago, there's a lot to do. And if the statement that you're going to put out there is get ready to lift the trophy this year, that's a lot to live up to.
Did they specifically say which trophy they wanted to lift?
Just the trophy. I mean, they're playing for 3, and the Open Cup would be 1, the Supporters' Shield would be 1, and MLS Cup. You would assume that the trophy would be MLS Cup, but I guess you get an out if they lift the Open Cup, but I don't care what trophy it is. I don't think Chicago's anywhere near a trophy at the moment. Now, if they have a bunch of signings coming through that we don't know about yet, maybe it's a different conversation, but I don't think that helps if you're in the situation Chicago's in. I mean, let's parse through the press release. They have been in 2 playoff matches since 2011, in 2012 and 2017. I know in 2017 they were bounced in the knockout round. I believe they were in 2012 as well. 2 playoff matches since 2011, both unsuccessful. Second bottom of the Eastern Conference in 2018, and the statement you're going to put out is get ready to lift the trophy this year. That's dangerous. I mean, you have a 2-year deal. It makes it a little bit easier to be that bold, but what happens if you don't lift the trophy in 2019 after 2 very bad seasons and 1 third best in the league, but bounced in the first round of the playoffs. I think you're setting expectations at an unrealistic level, and that's not a good spot to be in when you already have problems with a fan base.
And with the 2+1, you sit there and you look at the first two, and if things go absolutely sideways in year one of the deal and they don't lift a trophy and they don't do A, B, and C that they have set out, then you might have to re-examine things all over again and just eat that second year if things go completely sideways.
And we'll see if the Fire are comfortable spending that money to eat that second year. They do have a new partner. They do have a new minority owner, but it's nearly majority. Maybe there's more money to work with than we thought, but if you can't sign the 2-year deal unless you are absolutely prepared to see the 2 years out. So I don't know. I don't know. My head's spinning a little bit about that statement. I think there's very few teams in this league that should be making statements like that going into 2019. And it's dangerous. I think it's really dangerous in terms of setting up expectations that are just not realistic.
Well, I think they might also be looking at the rest of the Eastern Conference and saying, Atlanta's probably going to be there. Red Bulls have lost guys. New York City doesn't have their heart and soul striker anymore. Yeah, it's a little bit more open, I think, on the Eastern side than people might have expected, and maybe they're playing off of that is kind of where I'm going with it. But whether or not Chicago needs to be putting themselves in the category of we're one of those teams that can compete for what might be a more open Eastern Conference, that's up for interpretation.
I mean, right now you're looking at Chicago, and you're looking at probably Richard Sanchez back in goal at the moment. Maybe Stephen Cleveland. Neither one has really shown that they are the guy in goal in MLS. Defenders, you're probably going to see a pairing at the moment because Johan Kappelhoff is not under contract yet. You would likely see Grant Lillard, the homegrown player who didn't play a whole lot in his first year, and Marcelo, the new signing from Brazil, paired at center back with Raheem Edwards on the left side, unless he's playing in the midfield, Nicholas Hostler maybe on the right. You have Jorge Corrales and Nicolas Del Greco in the mix as well, but I would assume it would be Hostler and Edwards right now if you played. It's not a strong backline or a strong goalkeeper to start with. It gets better when you go forward. I mean, I liked Mo Adams a lot. I thought he was very good in the match against Atlanta at Toyota Park. Made one mistake, and then he got pulled out, and I don't think he really saw the field as much after that, and it was a shame. I thought Mo Adams was showing a lot of promise. Alexander Katai, we know his quality. Jordi Mihailovic, as John mentioned, pulling the strings, 20 years old. You need to give him that opportunity to do it. Dax McCarty, Bastian Schweinsteiger, unless you're moving Bastian to the back line, your two holding midfielders, neither one are exactly fleet of foot. Brant Bronico, I thought, had a good season. He's a good cog in the midfield. There's still, there's questions about the midfield, especially out wide on the other side from Katai. And then up top, you have Nemanja Nikolic, who is a proven goal scorer in this league. You're set there. But defensively and at goalkeeper, you have some serious problems. And the top teams in this league are teams that can defend. And right now, I have zero confidence in the Chicago Fire defensively.
And Trains has come in this morning already. How could you guys forget the disaster of the Fire's offseason at the draft? Didn't they trade up for Baquero just to send him to Toronto? LOL Disaster Club, I can't believe they retained Pano.
Oh, that's so far back in the disaster level of Chicago Fire stories that it doesn't even apply anymore, Trains. It's that bad. The Baquero deal, I don't know what they didn't see in Baquero, although he didn't really do a lot in Toronto. They did get Raheem Edwards. They did get Nicholas Hostler. They added some pieces. the most important thing for me, Jordy Mihailovic is the guy. Nemanja Nikolic is going to be your forward. There really wasn't a spot for Baquero. So we have to see what Baquero can turn into. That was the number one thing on him coming out of college and in the combine was where does he play at the next level? And I don't think anybody's ever figured that out yet. So you get Hostler. Okay, that's a good piece. You get something you needed. But defensively, they have to figure out Kappelhoff if they're going to bring him back. They have to get better at outside back. Matt Polster's out of contract. Why you let him fall out of contract, I have no idea. They have to upgrade at goalkeeper. This has been the issue, and this is my number one question for Nelson Rodriguez and Veljko Paunovic. The decision was made early on that Sean Johnson was not going to be the goalkeeper for Veljko Paunovic. You move Sean Johnson on. You've never replaced him. Never. Jorge Bava was... Oof. Now Sanchez has had some really shaky moments. Cleveland, I don't know if he's a starter at this level. How do you make the decision to move on from Sean Johnson, who is a top third goalkeeper in this league, and not have a replacement ready? Or if you thought Bava was going to be the replacement in 2017, how do you misjudge that one so badly? That's the biggest issue. I don't think you win a trophy in this league without a minimum top half goalkeeper in the league, probably more like a top third. I don't think you can. I think you have to have a goalkeeper that you trust, and neither one of Chicago's goalkeepers you trust at this point. That to me is the number one issue with this team is goalkeeper and defense. There is nothing that you look at this team on paper and see and say they can win a 1-0 game. They can win a close game. They can shut down another team's high-powered attack. There's nothing about it, and they're not good enough going forward to play shootouts and win in shootouts and win 4-3 games. They're not that good going forward creating to do that, and they're slow. You know? I mean, you look at their top players. Nikolic is a forward. It's a little bit different situation the way he plays, but Katai, McCarty, Schweinsteiger, not exactly fleet of foot. So there's a lot of questions, and just all those questions, all that combined to say get ready to lift a trophy this year. Whew. That's bold.
It's one word to use.
That's something. We'll see what happens in Chicago. They've got a little bit of time before training camp opens, and they've got a lot of work to do. If the goal is to lift a trophy, they have a lot of work to do. And we'll see what they bring in. I do agree with you, Jared. I think the Eastern Conference is pretty wide open beyond Atlanta. You know, I mean, you look at the standings from last year, and, I mean, we've went through it, and we'll kind of give you our gut feeling on it again. Red Bulls, I think, slide. Atlanta, I think, is the top team in the East. NYC, right now, you'd say slide. DC, I think, can go up. Columbus, could be announcements today. Tim Bezbachenko could be introduced today. Caleb Porter could actually be introduced as well, according to Michael Arrace from the Columbus Dispatch. Columbus, I'm going to take a wait-and-see attitude. Philadelphia, same, because Borek Dochkal is likely not coming back. Jim Curtin told Joe Tanzi of Pro Soccer USA that it's a long shot. Until they replace a guy who had 17 assists, I'm going to wait and see on Philly. Montreal, I think, can go up. New England, I think, can go up. Toronto, I think, will go up. Chicago, right now, I haven't seen anything to say they're going to be better. And Orlando, I think, will be better. But when we're talking about Orlando, New England, Montreal going up, I think you're getting them into a playoff conversation. Or, I think in Orlando's case, you're probably getting into like that 7, 8, 9 area to be in the race for a while. And in Cincinnati, I think we'll be in that level too. I think Cincinnati will be somewhere between 5 and 9. So you have a group, a gaggle, as John would say, in the middle of the pack, competing for the final playoff spots. I don't know who's going to be pushing Atlanta at the top right now. Toronto, Red Bulls, especially if Caceres steps up. New York City, if they get a goal scorer. DC could. But none of them, I think, are that close at the moment. So Chicago has a lot of work to do. And to say that get ready to lift a trophy, we'll see if those words come back to haunt Veljko Paunovic. But he's back for 2 more years with an option for a 3rd in the Windy City. We're going to take a break, come back, more news and rumors around MLS after this.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here, Friday flashback edition. We'll be getting into your favorite goals in just a bit. But thanks to the Colonel for sharing a rumor from MLSsoccer.com. Tom Bogert pieced together a couple things. An unnamed MLS club has submitted a, quote, lucrative offer for Augsburg goalkeeper Andreas Luther. This is from the German outlet Bild, which is a reputable outlet in Germany. Luther had joined Augsburg ahead of the 16-17 season. He's played 13 times this season. Augsburg is 15th out of 18 in the Bundesliga. Most of his career appearances have been in the second division. 169 appearances for Bochum, a side he captained before moving to Augsburg. I'm not 100% convinced he's going to be a standout goalkeeper in this league either. But we don't know if Chicago's the team for him. I don't know who else it could be. Not sure who else off the top of my head is in desperate need of a goalkeeper. We've talked about this before, and Jarrett, we've talked about goalkeepers, especially in this league. There are so many domestic goalkeepers that if you're going to go international at that position, I think you have to go bigger than a player of Andreas Luther's CV. Some of it comes down to maybe positional scarcity is the way I would look at it. I think when you have guys like Zach McMath, Alec Can, Mitch Hildebrandt, so many backup goalkeepers in this league that I think are ready to be starters. Ryan Mara in Red Bulls. Guys who I think could be starters in this league. It's easier and cheaper to get them as opposed to a German goalkeeper that's going to take up an international slot. And is he going to be that? Is he going to be worth it? Is the question. And I think goalkeeper is a spot that you need to stay domestic unless you're going for the best of the best.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're going to go get I mean, unless you're going to go get like a Keylor Navas.
Yes.
Who Real Madrid, I think, is still trying to get rid of actively because, man, I don't even know. I honestly don't know what they're doing.
I don't either.
But unless that's your game plan, man, I don't. Yeah, there's too many good American goalkeepers to be playing that game.
Yeah, it's just surprising to me. I mean, we'll see what happens in Colorado with Zach McMath. But Alec Cann's a goalkeeper that Chicago's had before. Ryan Mara with the Red Bulls, I mean, he's not playing over Luis Robles anytime soon. And we'll talk about John McCarthy, who left Philadelphia, and specifically because he wasn't going to play over Andre Blake, and he wants to be a starter. McCarthy's a guy I would look at. I think he's done well in his times as a starter in Philadelphia when Blake's been injured. It just feels like you could use the resources that you're going to sign an international goalkeeper so much better because of the domestic options. And, John, I mean, I don't know if Andreas Luthe is the guy for Chicago or not. We'll have to wait and see on that. But this type of signing doesn't feel like a smart move in the modern-day MLS to me.
No, considering that it took you, about 20 seconds to name how many quality domestic keepers?
I went a couple Atlanta guys who we know well, but McMath and Mara and McCarthy are three guys that you could absolutely see starting in this league in my book. And that's not even going down to the next division. That's not even going down to USL. I mean, we've seen Ranjit Singh likely going to be the guy in Orlando. Joe Bendick's out there as well. I think he probably needs to regain his confidence before he's a starter in MLS at the moment. He needs to play, and he needs to build that confidence back up. I think a USL job would be really smart for him. But he's a guy who, before Orlando cratered, Bendick was a guy being talked about with national team call-ups, and he kept Orlando afloat for quite a while. Just felt like he lost his confidence. There's so many guys out there.
Uh-huh. And thinking that your kill shot is to go overseas for that particular position for whatever MLS club seems to be chasing after Luthe, it seems to, for me, it's a wasted exercise because of the stuff that's right here on your figurative doorstep that you could sit there, not break the bank over, figuratively or literally, depending on what this lucrative offer is. And for the three of us to sit there and take maybe 30 seconds and come up with at least half a dozen names that could work in that position in this league that haven't had the opportunity, who we're fairly confident could do fairly well in the league. To me, this is chasing your tail and trying to sit there and go, okay, we have to get a shiny object here because. No, you don't. Equally because.
What it does to me is it means you have to get it right. And thanks, ATL UTD fan number one. Bendick signed with Columbus. We'll see how that goes. He's got 6 months to regain his confidence before Zach Steffen moves on to Europe. To me, when you make a signing like this, you are putting a ton of pressure on Luthe to be worth not just the lucrative offer, but to be better than your domestic options. And I don't know if a second division German goalkeeper is that guy. I don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe he's a guy who should have been playing at a higher level, hasn't had the opportunity, and this is it. But it puts more pressure on getting this move right. And with the limited amounts of resources you have, I mean, lucrative offer, I don't think he's a designated player. I'd be completely shocked if you're signing him to a designated player deal. But a TAM deal, I mean, unless you're not using the TAM for anything else and you just feel like you got to use it, or you want to dip into your discretionary TAM, feels like you could use that in better ways. And if I'm Chicago and I look at my back line, and this is assuming Luthe is the guy in Chicago, if I look at that back line and I look at goalkeeper, I'm going to go domestic at goalkeeper with options I have, and I'm going to use that TAM to sign defenders. I think that's the better way to play it. But we'll see what happens. We'll see how it goes. And we'll see if Andres Lutha is the guy in Chicago. Shiva asked, does Chicago Fire know we've moved into a single elimination playoff schedule? Means you have to have a perfect game every single time to move up. No chance for a second leg. It's not easy to do even for Atlanta United. What it does is it puts more pressure on being in the top 4 to at least have that first game at home in the postseason. I mean, if you're battling for 5, 6, 7 to go on the road in the first round of the postseason, yeah, you get the October international break to charge up for it and be ready. But you could be one and done, and it's all over. And then was your season a success? I don't know. It's going to be a battle, and we've talked about the East. We'll get into the West as we go in preseason as well. But, Jarrett, you look at the East, you look at the playoff picture now with the number 1 seed getting a bye, 2, 3, 4 hosting in the first round, 5, 6, 7 on the road in the first round in a 1 game. It puts a lot of priority on being that top 4, and I would have to say right now your top 4 at this stage would be Atlanta as your favorite for number 1, Red Bulls, Toronto, and DC. That's who I'm thinking hosts in the first round of the postseason. Do you think NYC can sneak in there? Do you think Montreal could sneak in there? What are you looking at?
I mean, maybe. Just I think a lot of it depends on how do they approach the rest of this window. I mean, there's a lot of questions we can get answered the rest of this transfer window. I'm going to be very curious to see how it breaks free, because what we look at right now might not be what we see a month from now. But right now, yeah, it looks like Atlanta, Red Bulls will still be there. Montreal's making moves. I have so many questions about New York City about it. Are they going to be able to get their hands on a striker who's going to get the job done for them?
Yeah, that's why I wouldn't have them in the top 4, is that lack of a goal scorer right now. Until they rectify that, I think New York City is probably a playoff team, but going on the road to begin with. Walt Baxley also reminds us that Zach McMath is in Vancouver now, not Colorado. This shows Chicago just wasted their time. You had opportunities to go get McMath, Bendick, guys who are still with the clubs that they started with. There were goalkeepers available, and you haven't done anything. So if you're stuck now going to spend TAM on a second division German goalkeeper, man, I hope your scouting department is right on it. Because if not, you're going to get called out for it, because you had opportunities, especially Zach McMath to me. I mean, he would have been a no-brainer to start in Chicago. No-brainer to start for a lot of teams in this league. So, I don't know. We'll see. John, what about you? Who do you think is your favorites for the top 4 in the East at the moment?
After I get the out of my system for what Chicago is and isn't doing, for me, it's Atlanta. It's Red Bulls-ish. It's Toronto. It's DC. And NYCFC I have as number 5.
I don't even know if 5's a guarantee at the moment, just because I don't know who's scoring the goals.
Yeah.
I don't think they have a goal scorer, and you've got issues about Yangel Herrera. Is he going to come back? Is he going to go to Manchester City or go on loan somewhere else? NYC is just in a pile with a lot of other teams at the moment. Now, if they get a goal scorer, it's a different conversation. But right now, you're asking Jesus Medina to make a big jump in his second year in New York. You're asking Maxi Morales to take on a whole lot more responsibility with that team. And you haven't really solved any of the other issues you had. So, I don't know. I don't know if NYC is a lock at the moment for 5, 6, or 7. We'll have to see what moves they make. And the way they finished and the way I think the vibe was around Dome Torrent makes those questions even louder to me, because I just don't know where they stand at the moment.
because they're in that grouping. You've got NYC, what's Columbus going to do? What's Philadelphia going to do? Montreal, we anticipate being improved. New England anticipating them being a part of the discussion closer to 7. FC Cincinnati is a part of 5 to 9, like you say. So I think you have like 2.5 distinct groups in the East right now. You've got that group that you know in 1 through 4. Then you've got 5 through 8 or 5 through 9, and then you're sitting there going Orlando and Chicago. So I think you've got 2.5 groups in the East right now as we're looking at it here January 4th.
Yeah, I think you've got a top group that's led by Atlanta. I think you have, I would almost say just 2 groups, because I don't know if there's any separation from NYC all the way down to the new kids, Cincinnati. I could see any of that group finishing in any spot right now. New York City, Columbus, Philly, Montreal, New England, Chicago, Orlando, Cincinnati. It's a crapshoot. And if you're in one of those front offices, in my opinion, you should look at that as an opportunity, because if you go get one guy, one player to change what you have and improve your group, that could be the difference between getting into the postseason easily. And we all know, even though the system is much more difficult than it has been, you all know once you get in, you never know what can happen. We've seen teams in all different sports and all different situations go on the road, get hot in the postseason, and pull those upsets. It can happen. And I think in this league, you can pull those upsets one of 2 ways. You either have a goalkeeper who it can stand on his head and win a game for you single-handedly, or you have a game-changing player on the field in an attacking situation. It could be a number 10. It could be a forward. You have a game-changer there. And that's what I think these teams have to look for. And those are going to be the teams that probably get through, and those are the ones that are going to be dangerous when you get into the postseason. Let's take a break, come back, get into the Friday flashback. Your favorite goals ever that you were in a building for, that you watched live, that you watched on TV, that you watched at a pub, that you've just seen afterwards, goals that were meaningful to you. Your favorite goals ever. Share them with us on Twitter at @SoccerDownHere. We'll be right back.
Sweet strawberry icing. You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. Ah, that's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. Look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Hamilton the Pug, Instagram star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Welcome back. Soccer Down Here, January 4th edition. It's
a Friday flashback, and today's Friday flashback is your favorite goals ever. Ever. There's no wrong answers here. I don't know. Maybe probably shouldn't say that because there could be some wrong answers depending on which team is losing in this scenario. For some people, there could be wrong answers. But your favorite goals ever. Jarrett, what, just off the top of your head, it doesn't have to be your number one, as we do with, Mount Rushmore type of things. It probably changes day to day. But what are some of your favorite goals ever?
Oh, man. Well, let's go with Yamil Assad's first one that we watched at Bobby Dodd last year. Just because it's so absurd to, what goals were important in Atlanta United history? How about the one where Tyrone Mears crossed it to Yamil Assad for the first goal in history? Because, that'll never get old as a trivia question. Oh, God, we just watched one in the World Cup. For the goal France scored against Argentina in the World Cup this year. Yeah. We've watched it at Fido. Just is a world-class strike. Nothing you could do about it. The crane kick from the playoffs, I think it was Krylock's goal.
Oh, yes, Damir Krylock.
Bond villain.
Just crane kicked it for no good reason.
Oh, it was good reason, all right.
And it worked. That's right up there. For sentimental reasons, one that will always stick out to me, no matter how star-crossed the dude's career is, with Tony Watt scoring against Barcelona when he was like 19 years old for Celtic in the game they beat Barcelona in, and then they got just thoroughly manhandled by Juventus. But, 18, 19-year-old kid scores against Barcelona when Barcelona was still Barcelona, and then his whole career just completely imploded. But, good job. That's it for right now, I think, for me.
Okay. John, favorite goals ever?
Let's see. Let's go with any goal in MLS Cup, preferably the first one. I would go with the second, both Kevin Kratz free kicks against Montreal. And then the one that I posted this morning on our Twitter account, the Hall of Fame strike indoors by Stan Stamenkovic in the 1983 MISL All-Star game.
Wow. That's obscure.
Oh, can I add one?
Sure.
The Roberto Carlos free kick against France.
Oh, yeah, just because, no, that's not supposed to happen.
Just because that's not supposed to happen according to math and physics.
It defied all laws of physics, Roberto Carlos, the free kick.
Pick up Beckham free kick from Manchester United.
Well, Beckham free kicks were amazing, but the Roberto Carlos one is a whole nother planet of amazing. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to be able to do that. It's not supposed to happen. For me, Beckham would be the not Manchester United, but the goal for England against Greece that put them into the World Cup in 2002. And I know that's been mentioned already on the timeline. John Nason with that one. For me, from an Atlanta United perspective, it would be the Tito goal at Bobby Dodd to earn a point against Orlando. That's just going to be a hard moment to top. Although Joseph Martinez's header against San Jose was close. Let's see. Trying to remember other Atlanta-ish goals that I would put in that conversation. One that I would love to find a video of in 98 for the Ruckus. This was back when the time was kept on the scoreboard, and there were 4 seconds left. And Atlanta had a throw-in maybe 25 yards from goal at Adams Stadium. The field was probably 62 yards wide, and there's a track. And Brandon Jenkins, who played at Georgia State his first year as a pro, did a flip throw, gets it to the back post, and it's headed in. Atlanta wins. That was one of the craziest things I've ever seen live. An absolute last second goal in a professional game off a flip throw. That was insanity. The Landon Donovan U.S. goal against Algeria, I mean, that I'll always remember where I was watching that. That's just one of those kind of special moments. The Paul Caligiuri goal to send the U.S. to World Cup 1990 would be on that list as well. Another one that, I mean, I did not see this live because I'm not that old, but one of my favorite goals on video, it's, I think it's from the World Cup final in 1958. It might be the semifinal. Pelé scored it, where it's a bouncing ball, defender like steps out to him, he pulls the sombrero, like flips it up over his head, and then hits the volley into the back of the net. It's just absurd. I'll find the link and I'll post it here in a minute. I don't think the sombrero was an accepted move in 1958, and Pelé did it, and the defender is just like completely confused by the whole thing and doesn't know what's going on, and then it's a goal. That's one of those that I've seen on tape that I'm just like, how in the world do you have the idea to pull that off? It's ridiculous.
I think I found it. I'm looking at Pele's top 5 World Cup goals here.
Oh, yeah, it's in there.
And the Swedish goalie's like, what?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the final. We'll post it in a minute. A couple responses real quick before we go to break. Tafka, TLC, the Donovan goal against Algeria. I could feel a glass ceiling shatter for the sport in this country when that goal went in. I 100% agree with it. That was the Lake Placid U.S. hockey team moment that U.S. soccer needed. Good shout. Also, the Clint Mathis goal against Mexico. Not Mexico. Well, actually, Tafka, I need to know which goal you're talking about. Mathis scored against South Korea in the World Cup in 2002. The goals against Mexico in 2002 were Brian McBride and Landon Donovan. McBride, and that goal would be on my list for sure. It was a run from Claudio Reyna down the right side, played it into Josh Wolf. He cut it back into the corner of the 18, and McBride, first-time strike, beat the goalkeeper. The second one was a great cross from Eddie Lewis to Landon Donovan. Just put it on right onto his head and perfect stride, and Donovan heads it home. The Mathis goal in that tournament was against South Korea, where he cross comes in, he takes one touch to settle it, and then hits a half volley that was a world-class goal. John Nason's with you on the Roberto Carlos goal, Jarrett, for sure. And he's mad because I stole his Beckham choice. I'm seconding your Beckham choice, John. I'm with you. I'm supporting you in this. Chandler Creel, the Clint Dempsey goal against Ghana in 2014. Watched this match at Midway over in East Atlanta Village back in 2014. Place went nuts and everyone was covered in beer. Yes, I fully support this. At the time, this goal represented the positive direction of the U.S. men's national team. Oh, well. Yeah, the tournament didn't go quite so well from there, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. That one and the John Brooks goal in that match as well was a lot of fun. Katie Weaver chimes in with non-Atlanta goals. The MLS favorite MLS goal, the Wayne Rooney, Lucho Acosta goal at the death, DC against Orlando from this season, and that's been
Joe Bost had that one too.
Joe had that.
Yep.
Jaw dropper from Katie Weaver, the Carly Lloyd goal against Japan from the final. From 50 yards out, something like that. The emotional goal for Katie, the Brandi Chastain penalty to decide the Women's World Cup 1999 final at the Rose Bowl. And her personal favorite was a half volley knuckler from midfield in adult indoor league a few years back. You need to see video of that, Katie.
Yes.
The details behind the entire penalty shootout for the Women's World Cup are fantastic. If you've never read them or watched the documentaries, that I think ESPN did an 11 for 11, celebrating celebrating everything
the
they
originals.
did.
Yes.
Yeah. Or I'm sorry, 9 for 9 for Title IX. And when they sit down and talk about how she took it with her left foot, you just to throw the keeper off, and how everybody in there how the order was picked out and how Mia Hamm hated taking penalties and was just despised them, just the entire thing. And Brianna Scurry giving the great line of, oh, well, yeah, I decided, did I come off my line early? Yeah, sure. But I would have stopped it again anyway if we'd had to retake it, because she said she could see it in the girl's eyes that she was going to miss, that was the kicker for China, who had zero confidence. She's walking to the spot. She could see it in her body language, her eyes, and everything. Just she came off her line early. She's like, I didn't care. I'd have stopped it again.
Yeah, usually you can spot it. That's something I'm always looking for in a penalty shootout situation, is who does not look quite right in their approach to taking it. From the minute the last kick is taken, you can see it from their walk, like the way they grab the ball, the way they place it, their preparation, how many steps they take back, that type of stuff. You can usually see who is thinking a lot about what they have to do. Let's take a break, come back. More of your favorite goals on a Friday flashback edition of SDH after this.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski and Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Welcome back. Final segment, hour number 1. Tony Annan, Atlanta United's Academy Director, joins us to kick off hour number 2 from Germany, from the Mercedes-Benz Junior Cup. There's a chance that these games might be streamed on YouTube. We shared a link from last year's page where all the games were streamed. So stay tuned. We'll try to keep an eye on it. It will be very, very, very early in the morning. I believe they kick off at 10:30 German time, which would mean it's about 4:30 our time in the Eastern time zone. So you might want to watch it on delay, unless you want to get up early and watch it. It's a 20-minute game, and there's 3 of them over the course of about 3 hours or so, 2-3 hours. So if you're ready to commit that kind of time for it, have at it. But we'll keep you posted if we see a link. Let's get back into favorite goals on a Friday flashback edition. Kefzi, 3 goals that they will always remember. Charsteis, I'm probably butchering the pronunciation. I'm not up on my Greek pronunciation. The goal against Portugal in the Euro 2004 final. I need to go back and look at that one. I vaguely remember it. The Roberto Carlos free kick that has been referenced quite a bit. And Mancini for Roma versus Lyon in the Champions League. That's another one I need to go back and pull up. Kefzi, if you've got links, share them with us, and we will blast them out so everybody can share in your quality goal selections. The garlic bread warlord, Nick Leafy, has comments, as always. Fabio Grosso versus Germany in World Cup 2006. I scared half of Playa del Carmen. That's probably nothing new, but yes, that goal was absurd. I'm with you 100%. Yamil Assad versus Red Bulls. I'm assuming that's the opener, yes. Del Piero versus Germany in 2006. Grosso, final penalty versus France, 2006. The Garlic Bread Warlord cried, which is understandable. And Tito versus the Red Bulls in the 2018 Eastern Conference final. That's from Alifi. And Tafka was talking about the South Korea goal for Mathis. El Mataflo. Yamil Assad's first goal for the team for Atlanta United. Internationally, Ronaldo rounding Oliver Kahn in the 2002 World Cup final for Brazil, and Eltin Delgado's goal in the 2006 World Cup versus Costa Rica. Links. Share links. We need to share these with the world if they don't know these goals. I remember the Ronaldo Oliver Kahn one. Original Ronaldo from Brazil, the OG Ronaldo, at his best, in 2002, he was not even at his best. But at his best, in his prime, I don't know if there's been another player like him. He was a powerhouse because he had the quickness, the gracefulness, the dribbling of a smaller player, but he was a tank. If you haven't seen highlights of Ronaldo, maybe 95 through 98, go look those up and watch them and just be astounded. He was one of the best forwards I've ever seen in his prime. He was borderline unplayable. John Nason with one more before we go to break. Michael Thomas wins the Division I title for Arsenal in injury time in 1989 at Anfield in the last game of the season, scoring the second goal when a 2-0 win was required. I have seen that one. That was a crazy moment to win the league title in stoppage time, late in that match. That's a wild one. Okay, John, I'm going to ask you to go on YouTube duty and find links to these so we can share these. Tony Annan's going to join us during the break, and we'll be talking Atlanta United Academy to open hour number 2. Hang out with us. We'll be right back.
Sweet strawberry icing. You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket, you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. Ah, that's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. Look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Hamilton the Pug, Instagram star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, January 4th edition of the show. We'll get into our favorite goals as we get through the second hour. And we're going to ask our guest his favorite goal of all time. Tony Annan, Atlanta United's Academy Director. It's a Friday flashback, Tony, so we kind of go back into our favorite things. We've talked about favorite kits, favorite things from Atlanta United's history. But favorite goal of all time, what's the first goal that pops into your head?
Paul Gascoigne, 1996 European Championships against Scotland. Lifted it over Colin Hendry and volleyed it in the bottom corner.
Good call.
That was probably one of my favorite all-time goals.
That's a perfect call. I had forgotten about that one, and nobody had referenced it yet. So great start. Nice shout. Let's get into what you're up to right now. You're in Germany. You're preparing for the Mercedes-Benz Junior Cup. Tell us a little bit about this tournament and how the opportunity came about for Atlanta United.
Obviously, with our relationship with Mercedes, they reached out and invited us to come over here. They've pretty much paid for everything and all expenses paid trip to Stuttgart. And it's an unbelievable lineup of teams. It's Rapid Vienna, Hertha Berlin, Schalke, ourselves, Liverpool, Rangers. I mean, you couldn't ask for better competition. It's an under-19 tournament, so it's birth year 00 and down. And it's like an indoor arena. It's 50 yards by 30 yards, so it's a good size. It's all boarded up, so they've done a really good job with it. They've put a lot of money into it. It's their 30th year. It's a really cool experience. Really good.
Yeah, it's a really different kind of event, and it's an event that, you mentioned the history of it. So many top players that we all know from around the world. This was an opportunity for them to kind of showcase their quality before they made it to the world stage. One thing that came up was the last non-German team to win this tournament was Manchester United, and that Manchester United group was led by Marcus Rashford.
Correct. Yeah, he was 17 when he was here, and he apparently took the tournament by storm, and led Man United to the championship here. So it's like I said, there's a lot of good players here. We sitting down with the Schalke team this morning, and obviously Zion was there. It was nice to see Zion.
Yes.
And but a lot of the players who are on the cusp of the first team are actually with this team here. So it's. Teams come here to compete and they take it very seriously. So it's not just a little indoor tournament in Germany.
So since it's a different kind of format, how did you go into this thinking about what players you would take and what the roster would look like?
Well, obviously at first, when we first got invited and we looked at the past history of the teams and the makeup of the rosters, we thought about George Bello, we thought about Andrew Carlton, we thought about Chris Gosling, because they were all qualified of age to play here. But obviously with the season starting a little earlier this year in CONCACAF, those guys are not available to us because they'll all be involved with the first team starting January 14th. So they weren't available, unfortunately. So then we just looked at our under-19 players that we thought could handle playing indoors, playing a small-sided space, and players who are on the cusp. Jackson Conway's here. Ali Castro's here. So we picked the best players we could who we thought would be effective in an indoor tournament. We only could take 12, so we only took one goalkeeper. Justin Garces was scheduled to come with us, and he got called into the 20s camp. So we had to take our normal, the guy who plays on the 19s, Colin. And then we actually pulled back Will Crane from Brown and Charlie from Clemson, Charlie Asensio, and give them an opportunity to continue developing with Atlanta United. So that's kind of how we approach the roster. And we've got a good squad of lads.
That's very cool, and that's something that I don't think we see very often with situations like Crane and Asensio, who this is an opportunity for them to kind of reconnect with the club and stay connected even though they're playing in college.
Yeah, absolutely. Gives them a chance to, like you said, reconnect with the club, keep them close to the club. Should they develop in the college ranks, we still need that connection with our players, with our alumni who go to college. We need to be able to pull them back at any time and invite them in and give them experiences, and also just have a look at where they're at, after a season in college. So that's kind of how we approach the whole thing.
What has that adjustment been like for you now that, that is part of your purview where, the academy, developing the teams, coaching a team previously, now it's that overall database of not just the players that you have in the academy currently, but guys like Garces and Crane and Asensio, and finding opportunities to involve them where you can.
Yeah, we've set up some summer training program stuff, even during the winter, when they can come back from school, do a little bit of training at the training ground, keep them connected to the club. Then obviously we track them in their college season and keep tabs on their data and their minutes played and everything else, just to try and keep ahead of the curve, so that if we do want to pull a player back and pull a player out of college and give them a contract, we know exactly where they're at in their development. So our database has grown by the season. I think we've got 20 odd kids in college now, so next season will be another 10, 15 going into college probably. So as we grow, so will our database of alumni from the academy that will have a chance to keep them connected to our club, because that's, it's important to us that we still keep that. You're part of our family when you're in our academy, and if you don't get a professional contract, it doesn't mean it's the end of the road. There's different pathways back to the club. So that's our approach, and it seems to be working pretty well. The guys love coming back, and they love training with us and getting in training with the USL.
Let's talk about one guy who has started on that pathway to a professional deal. Jackson Conway signed with Atlanta United 2 for the upcoming season. Tell us a little bit about his development from the launch of the academy, and even what you knew of him before Atlanta United started to now as a professional.
Yeah, I mean, Jackson's been with me personally since he was 12. So he was with Georgia United. He was a centre-back. He was a right-back. More than likely, he was in those positions because of his pace and his size, because he's always been a big kid. But over time, you start to realise that you have to fit the player for his own success where they're going to be successful. And he just wasn't a great one-on-one defender. And no matter how hard we tried to help him, he was great in the air. He was, he's obviously very technical. He's very smart. But he just wasn't cut out to be a defender. So I think it was the last year of Georgia United, we pushed him up front. And he just has a knack, for holding the ball up really well, connecting with his team. And he's obviously a proven goal scorer. He's got tons to learn. He's got tons to do. But the club felt strongly that we could develop him even further. And that's why a contract was put in front of him to give him that motivation and to give him that support with his individual program and everything else we can offer him with our resources. So his developments come thick and fast. He's had 2 really good seasons as a forward. He's going into his 3rd, probably full season as a forward. And I think he's got a big upside and he's got a big future, should he keep developing and stay on the trajectory that he's been on for the last couple of years.
It was fun last year with ATL UTD2 to watch the academy guys get those opportunities to play still as part of the academy, and then to see Castro and now Conway earn professional deals from that play. How do you and Scott Donnelly, as an academy season is going on, how do you guys figure out when it's time for a player to get that opportunity in USL, and then when it gets closer to that time to a potential contract situation?
Well, first of all, you've got to be brave. You've got to be brave enough to give them a chance. You've got to be brave enough to let them fail. And even for Scott, he's got to be brave enough to play these players knowing that he's probably not going to get the result that he wants, because it's about the development of the youth player. And our USL team is an extension of our academy, and that's how we talk about it. Myself and Scott talk daily about progress and about players who have the chance, have the ability. Obviously, they're given a chance in training first. I think we had 14 academy players in USL training last year, and they have to earn their way onto the field. It's not like it's a given that if you get to train with the USL, you're going to play. You've got to show in training that you can handle it. You've got to show in training that you've earned the right, just like anything at the club. And then once you're given an opportunity with the USL, you've got to then earn the right to a professional contract. So there's motivation at every turn for them to do well. And now the stories are being told. Look, Ali Castro went into USL, did very well, and was rewarded. Jackson Conway played in 5 USL games last year, and we felt enough between myself, Carlos, and Scott. We felt enough about him that we would take a chance and give him a professional contract to push him on and push on his development. And those are the, brave decisions you have to make, and not worry about results, and not worry about, maybe an older USL player who has to move out the way to let the young guy come through. So it's not easy to run the USL team that way, but the club's got it right, and obviously, hopefully, we bear fruit by making decisions like that, which are tough decisions to make, but like I said, they're brave decisions to push on the development of youth players, because that's the only way it's going to happen. It's not going to happen playing U19 DA, so we have to give them those chances to show that they can play with men who are being paid to play and feed their family. So that's the challenge they face at 17, 18 when they get in the USL.
And something that could accelerate this whole process is the new hire, Frank de Boer, the new manager for Atlanta United on the first team level. Coming from a club like Ajax, that looks like it would be a great model for what you and Carlos and Scott and Tata Martino kind of worked on from day one with Atlanta United. Do you think much changes going forward with de Boer bringing that Ajax mentality to the table?
I think there'll be a shift in the mentality and the philosophy. I mean, don't get me wrong. Tata was very, very encouraging of having youth players in training and playing youth players against the first team. He was all about that. There was no separation where Tata said, we can't have the youth players in the gym. We can't have the youth players on the same field as the first team. He was very, very open to youth and bringing in youth for training. And he knew the youth players who he liked and he talked about them. So there was no separation there. I think with Frank coming in, having been through an academy system, having coached in an academy system, and obviously that system being Ajax, which is a machine for producing players in Holland, they rely on producing players to help their first team win games, and the model of their club is to sell players on as well. So I don't see there being a huge shift, but there will be hopefully a little bit more emphasis on let's get these kids who are ready for the first team into the first team when they've earned the right to do so. People ask, why aren't these young kids playing in the first team regularly? And sometimes you've got to just say, well, maybe they haven't earned that right yet. They're still 18 years old. They're still 17 years old. It's not a pay-to-play model where you're guaranteed time on the field. So it's an exciting time, and I think the club have made the absolute correct choice to given their philosophy and given their statements on youth development. They've absolutely made the first-class decision to bring in Frank, because I think he will just continue the drive to produce youth players and to get youth players the experience they need. And I think it'll be fully supported from the first team down. So for me, it's the best hire that could have been.
Yeah, especially in light of just the club's mentality about developing youth players and promoting them through the club. It feels like this is a move that doubles down on that and makes it, maybe even more of an emphasis going forward. Catch us up on the current development academy system, the current academy season. It's kind of the midway point. How has your first season as an academy director gone in your mind of overseeing all the different teams in the academy?
It's been good. It's been productive. We've really kind of messed about with formations. We've let players play up. We've moved players on from 19 to USL, which has allowed other players to have opportunities. And we've really come away. I think the first year when we actually won the championship we were very results driven. We wanted to tell the story. We wanted our brand to be recognised as a strong brand. But now we've started to produce players for the first team, moving players on into USL. I think we had 9 players playing minutes in USL last season. It's now really about, come on, let's not worry about winning games and let's get these kids developed. So we may not be top of the league every year from now on, which is okay. But as long as we're moving kids into the USL and giving them that experience, younger kids moving up, playing up. The back end of the season here in the springtime will move a lot of kids up and give them the challenge and allow them to fail or succeed at a higher level. So that's kind of where we are, philosophically sitting. We've got to come away from let's win the league every year, but let's make sure we can win the league and produce players if that's the goal.
And you've mentioned building that brand. One thing we've seen over time is the academy's maybe catchment area is a lot larger than it used to be, because you're getting players who see what's happening here and really want to be part of it, even if they're not from the Atlanta area.
Yeah, absolutely. I get hundreds of emails a week of kids requesting trials, of kids sending in video. We have a recruitment tab on our academy webpage, and I think right now there's about 500 emails sitting in there of kids who have emailed asking for trials. So yes, we do get a lot of requests. Obviously, we want to maintain our Atlanta Academy with the majority of Atlanta kids. That's a priority from all the staff. We want it to be an Atlanta United Academy with Atlanta kids because we feel like our pool is very good. But there's special kids that you have to bring in and, gamble on and help them obviously produce for the first team as well. So national team level kids and exceptional kids who are sometimes a diamond in the rough who nobody's looking at, and your scout sees him and you bring him in and, he pops and away you go. SKC have done that quite successfully in the last couple of years as well. So although we are going to reach further afield, our scouting system's getting better and better, we do want to maintain Atlanta United Academy with Atlanta United players as much as we can.
One thing we've talked about before is, maybe the uneven level at the development academy. And there's been talk about the MLS teams or the professional teams kind of pulling away into their own academy. How do you look to supplement the league play in the U.S. Soccer Development Academy with a situation like what you're in now in Germany and other international competitions? How important are those to the overall development in the academy?
If we didn't have opportunities like this, or to go to Mexico, or later in the year we're going to Spain, if we don't have those opportunities, we struggle to produce the kids that we want to produce. If George Bello didn't play in the GA Cup against 6 or 7 international competitions, we would never have known the bar that George had set. It's imperative that we play international competition and come to events like this, take our kids out of the comfort zone of our training ground, and just play against guys with a higher IQ and, honestly, better technical ability and a higher soccer IQ. You can't catch them if you don't play against them and see where the bar is set. So it's imperative that we get international competition as often as possible. We've started bringing MLS clubs to our training ground now and having little round robins. We did one in December with LA and New York City for our under 14s, which was great. It was probably the best games we'd had all year. So we have to do more. We have to search for our games competition to be way more competitive than it is. There is talk of the MLS breaking away from the DA at certain levels, but nothing's concrete yet and nothing's been decided. So that will help. It will take us out of a bit of a bubble, guarantee us that there'll be a competitive game against a professional academy every week. But until that happens, we have to seek out opportunities such as this. Even though it's a small-sided indoor competition, it's going to be really good for the guys. They're going to see a whole different speed of play. So, we can't do without it at any age. But obviously, you've got to pick and choose where you invest your money and how you do it.
What are the next things coming up for fans who are looking at the academy to keep an eye on? Are there more tournaments like this on the horizon for different age groups? What should fans be looking for out of the academy the rest of 2019?
GA Cup's probably our biggest event, which we host in February at the training ground, which is all the East Coast MLS teams will play each other. That's usually a really good measuring stick to see where we're at. So that's probably our biggest event for our 17s and 15s. in the spring. Obviously, the DA playoffs are always competitive in different ways. And then we've got a trip to, hopefully, a trip in August to France for a tournament, obviously, which may be streamed. I'm not sure if that's going to be streamed or not, but it's another big tournament with a lot of French and German and Spanish clubs. I think that's an under 14 or 15 level. But, I mean, locally, it's the GA Cup's our biggest event, which will be in Atlanta, then in Dallas in March, April. So that's kind of what the Academy will be doing and focusing on.
Excellent. Well, we'll be keeping everybody up to date at Soccer Down Here. Always a ton of questions about the Academy and wanting to learn more. You know, you've seen it firsthand. The fan base for this club is so hungry for everything Atlanta United related. I don't think there's anything like it in the country. And the level of questions that we get about the Academy blows my mind every week. It's been a lot of fun to talk about.
Well, I mean, the club supports the Academy better than most. Obviously, our fans are probably the best fans in the country. You know, I'm over here in Stuttgart, and I've got guys from Bremen and Hertha Berlin last night, and they were quizzing me on the fan base and how do we have a fan base, and there's a ton of questions from this side. So, you know, there's big expectations come with the success and the backing of our fans and the backing of our owner and the club. But that's where you want to be. You want to be, you know, at that level so that people want to know how you do it. So it's, I think Jurgen Klinsmann did an interview today and he mentioned Atlanta United Academy and the club in his interview for German press, which was huge for us as well. So it's great. It's unbelievable. The fan base and the parade was unbelievable. We all got to go, and the Academy got to go on the bus behind the first team, which, again, it just showed the level of commitment from this club to the Academy and the Academy players. And, I can't thank the club enough for getting behind the Academy the way it has.
Yeah, Klinsmann did an interview, and the event's Twitter tweeted it out. And roughly translated, he talked about how Atlanta United's academy was the most advanced in the United States, and mentioned the training ground as well. So you're making waves, and you get the chance to make some more waves in Germany over the weekend. Are these games going to be streamed? Do you know?
I believe they are. I think they have a YouTube channel. I think Nate will be putting it out on Twitter and Instagram once he finds out. But we have a meeting tonight, and I think all those details are going to be given to us tonight. So look out for that tonight or tomorrow morning.
Cool. You guys will have lots of viewers to check out how the guys do tomorrow in group stage. Tony, thanks for the time calling us from Germany. We really appreciate it. And we'll catch up when you get back.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Tony. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Umpolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, January 4th edition, a Friday flashback edition. Thanks again to Tony Annan, Atlanta United Academy Director, hopping on the line with us from Germany, getting us up to speed on the Mercedes-Benz Junior Cup and everything Atlanta United Academy related. For those of you who are catching the show midstream, we're going to send that out as well as a 1v1 special podcast as well if you caught some of it or didn't catch all of it. So that'll be available later this afternoon for you guys. Let's get back into the Friday flashback. Tony had a great one. The Paul Gascoigne goal against Scotland in the 96 Euros, that's one of my all-time favorites. Another sombrero as well. I think I'm partial to the sombrero move, the flip up over a defender and then scoring after that. It's just such a talent, it's such a skill move to have the touch to just pop the ball up over a defender and then finish. The composure, the touch, it's kind of the ultimate skill check to me to show that, yes, I am a ridiculous player and you will bow down to me. That's basically what it's saying.
Genuflect to my sombrero, sir.
Yeah, pretty much. Robert Swick, his favorite goals, Atlanta United 2018 was the Joseph single-season record goal against Orlando. That's a better goal, and Jarrett, you mentioned it in your 92.9 The Game column. That's a better goal than I think it gets credit for. We all remember the stare down at the end of it, but the composure to not go to the left like Joseph usually does in that situation and where he was, but to cut back to the right and then just a little dink over Bendik after you make him sit down. That's absurd.
Sit down, Bendik.
I mean, it kind of did foreshadow the goal against Red Bulls in the playoffs, that he could have that much composure that close to goal. Because the first goal against Red Bulls, it's kind of in that same vein of he's got the ball, not even 10 yards away, and just takes his time, doesn't lash at it, doesn't panic, just puts it away.
Yeah,
smooth and easy.
The Orlando goal, I think, is even better though, because of
that's
where
fine.
he is in the field and being surrounded. It's just ridiculous to do that. I thought Stuart Holden had a really good shout on the final. When you watch his first goal, the opening goal in the final, it's kind of a broken play. It falls to him. He takes the touch. He takes the touch to the right around Attinella, and he takes a pretty heavy touch around Attinella. He does a little quick step. I think Stu called it a stutter step. I didn't really see it that way. It was just more of one extra little short step to get his body right to finish that. He does that a lot. He does that little extra quick step to just right himself. And that's so hard to do at full speed. And he's ridiculous at it. Swick's others, favorite worldwide in 2018, the Colombia equalizer against England. And I'm sure Felipe Cardenas agrees with that one. Favorite Atlanta United goal ever, Tito's rocket in Orlando, the game winner in the first match in Orlando. Totally can back that one, but I'm going with the one the week later just because of I think the emotional situation with that goal, the final goal at Bobby Dodd, rescuing a point. Some of it was just down to as well, that was the first game to me. NYC in 2017 was close because there was a little bit of an edge to it because of how bad the game was at Yankee Stadium, and it was only a couple weeks prior. But the game against Orlando at Bobby Dodd, to me, was the first game that had that big match feeling to me. And not just because it was a big event like the opener, that it was, we don't like these guys, and we want to beat them. And it was a packed house, and it was a Saturday afternoon. It felt, and I'm sure some people are going to be mad about saying this, it felt like a big SEC football game. It felt like it was in that time slot. It felt like the big late afternoon Saturday game that everybody's around the TV watching. And it had that magic moment at the end with the goal slipped in from Yamil Assad. Tito scores, runs and jumps into the crowd. That was the one that I first felt like, holy crap, this is something different.
So what we need to do is what I'm hearing here is we need to take the video of the goal and overlay Vern Lundquist screaming, "Oh my," over it, and then have the CBS. I'd have the CBS, the bumper music that signifies when it's, SEC on CBS at 3:30 every fall Saturday. Just overlay all of that.
That was what hit me because of my sports background and my sports history. That was what hit me. I probably was one of the few that it hit that way. But, yes, if you want to do that, that would replace the Titanic music over it and the video that I've watched way too many times of the Titanic music and Tito jumping into the crowd. And, yes, that's one of my all-time favorites.
Gary Danielson just incredulously screaming about nothing in particular, mostly about any offense that moves faster than a snail's pace.
That's pretty typical. That's true. Swick's favorite goal ever is Landon Donovan's goal against Algeria that we've mentioned a bunch of times. Tofka TLC, his most memorable personal goals, high school game against a team we had to beat for a playoff berth. We had a nothing goes night kind of day, and we're losing 1-0. I was an underclassman, and I told our star central attacking midfielder on a corner to stop lofting it in. Told him to drill it at me near post. He did. I flicked it in for the equalizer. Scored the winner 5 minutes later in the 80th-ish minute, and I'm assuming it was 80-minute games because high school's weird like that. Scored the winner 5 minutes later on a long shot that had no business going in. I got dogpiled. Best soccer playing moment of my life. I didn't have that moment in high school that I scored the goal. I scored one goal in high school. I had I think 12 or 13 assists, but I had one goal. And it was in a nothing game after we had played. It was our third game in 3 days because we'd had games rained out. So we were dead. We were playing at Jonesboro on their practice field. And it was the third goal or the fourth goal in a 4-0 win. So it wasn't that special. But yeah, those types of moments, when you score them individually, yeah, they stick with you. I mean, I scored a winning goal in U12 that I remember. So yeah, you always when it was something personal, they definitely stick with you. John Lee Huey, a bunch of his have already been taken. Oh, go ahead, Jarrett.
No, I say the best moments in high school sports are always the mistakes, and those are the best. The only moments I have that were awesome, they were absolutely mistakes, and they worked out beautifully. So that's how it works. And when you're in high school and you're just, trying to figure out what you can do physically and what you can't, you go, oh God, that worked out beautifully. That's pretty much what high school is.
I think I had more than that. I had some nice assists in my Eagles Landing senior season. But the moment that I probably remember the most, we had pretty good crowds playing in high school because we were state ranked. We made the state playoffs for the first time. We were the first team sport at Eagles Landing to be any good at all. And we were playing Henry County, our crosstown rival that we ended up beating 12-0 because they were terrible. And I was in a foot race with a player. Somebody sent a ball over the top. Down the wing. I was on the right side. I'm in a foot race, literally step for step. It was, I don't know, it felt like Chariots of Fire, where it's the two guys who are running right next to each other. Neither one can get an advantage. My step took me to the ball first. I took a touch. The guy swung his leg across my knees. I went flying and ended up getting grass burns on my face. That was not fun. But the crowd went wild, first yelling at the guy and then yelling because I got up quickly and stared him down. But, yeah, that happened. That was fun. I was kind of crazy playing in high school. I laughed psychotically at a player from Grady who had elbowed me in the mouth, and I didn't know I was bleeding from the mouth, so it probably looked really psycho.
I'm just going to send you clips of Scott Brown now, because that's who you
pretty much. I mean, the whole second half, every time I touched the ball, this guy just whacked me, and his coup de grace was right in front of our bench. He grabbed my shoulders and like kicked my legs out from under me, and he never got a yellow card. The yellow cards were hard to come by back in the day. Sends me flying like off the field, and then I heard him laugh as he like tossed me off the field. So I came running back around. I ran around the bench because I was off the field, so I didn't like run off the field to run around something. I was off the field, ran around our bench, and got in his face and just started laughing and bleeding from the mouth. Everybody went nuts. It was crazy. Yeah, that happens sometimes. John Lee Huey, his other one, because some of his had been taken, the Yamil goal, the Donovan goal. Michael Bradley from way downtown at the Estadio Azteca. Totally with you on that one, John Lee Huey. That was absurd. John Nason with another old school one and a link, which is awesome. Keith Houchin, diving header at Wembley, 1987, helping Coventry City win their first and so far only FA Cup. That is a good blast from the past.
Watching it now as we speak.
How about Zinedine Zidane hitting the underside of the bar in the World Cup final? Because why
That's
not?
Just swag. Fourcard Ahmed with a good one. The Marco van Basten volley from the Dutch national team. If you haven't seen that one, just retweeting it now as well. That one is ridiculous. Good, you guys are sharing videos with us, so I will have plenty to watch as we go. Fourcard Ahmed as well. Ooh, no, wait, this is a good one. Hold on a second, Jared. This is a really good one. Saeed Al-Awaran from Saudi Arabia in the 94 World Cup at RFK Stadium. The goal of the tournament, slaloming run of about 75 yards.
That's filthy.
Insane. It's kind of not, though. Because, I mean, it's a little awkward. Like, he almost loses it a couple times. He's not, like, pulling all these crazy moves and all this stuff. It's just kind of nuts that he pulled it off.
It's an effort goal.
Kind of. I mean, I wouldn't call it filthy. It's an amazing goal. It's not this unbelievable skill goal. It's not the Diego Maradona World Cup 86 goal against England, which hadn't been mentioned up until now, which is crazy. It wasn't that. But it was an amazing moment for a Saudi Arabian team that, you know, that was their first World Cup, and they weren't expected to do anything. And that was a big part of that game against Belgium. So just shared that one from Fourcard Ahmed. Great shout there. I'd forgotten about that one.
How had no one mentioned the not the hand of God, but the goal of the century? How had no one mentioned that?
I don't know.
Like
I
the
just
run
did. So.
Where he leaves a collection of bodies in his wake. But yeah, the other one I'll mention, I can't remember who he did it against, but it was one of a collection of goals that James Rodriguez scored in the World Cup 5 years ago.
Oh, yes.
James was mean in that World Cup. And then he
was.
Disappeared in Real Madrid.
Then he went to Real Madrid, and they didn't really want him. They just liked the idea of James, and then it happens. Don't go to a club just because it's one of those. Like, go to the right club where you're going to play and be a superstar.
Like
James,
Miami.
Yes. Enter Miami. Trains, Aguero goal.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well done with the Martin Tyler impression there.
Yeah, it was a bad one, but, you know, it's still early in the morning. So, El Mata Flo said, and he's talking about original Ronaldo. And thanks for sharing those highlights. OG Ronaldo. You had to at one point, because at the end of his career, Ronaldo put on a few pounds. He was a big boy. And some people called him Rotundo, which was very rude. It happened.
Very nice.
No, it was very mean. He was an unbelievable player, did not deserve that kind of treatment. And Mataflo said he cried when he retired and during his international retirement match against Romania. Xavi and Ronaldo were the first players that influenced me as a player. Good shout.
Either one of the hate crimes Shinsuke Nakamura scored against Edwin van der Sar when he was with Man United. Both. I'll send you. Yeah.
Okay.
He did it to them twice. He did it in one because they were in the same group in the Champions League one year, and he did it once at Celtic Park and once at Old Trafford. And both of them are for like north of 25, 30 yards out. One of them, he dives and just it's placed in the top corner. The second one, he doesn't flinch. But it's one in each game, and it's just stop letting that tiny little man shoot.
One of the best MLS goals of all time was Eric Hostley for Vancouver in Seattle. I believe it was 2011. It was goal of the year. It had to be. Just a spinning volley. I think Arlo White was on the call when the games were on NBC. Unbelievable goal. Hostley ended up really being a bit of a bust here in the States, but he had a couple just insane goals during his time here. He scored one for Vancouver, and I can't remember where he moved after Vancouver, but he scored another one the next year, and it's just like, whoa, what? What is this guy doing? Jimmy Vance, before we go to break, shares a Paul Scholes versus Aston Villa 2006 goal. Paul Scholes was a very underrated player, and he was capable of some magic as well. Let's take a quick break. We'll get into more of your favorite goals on the other side. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Sweet strawberry icing. You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket, you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. Ah, that's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski and Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. Look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Hamilton the Pug, Instagram star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
So it's going to move weird on you if you're,
We're just gonna
looking at somebody right foot, perhaps. I mean,
we're just going to be watching YouTube videos for the rest of the show and talking about them. That's how it's going to go.
Probably.
Soccer Down Here. Favorite goals. That is the Friday Flashback edition, and this seems to be a fun topic, getting lots of different things. We do have a point of clarification from earlier. We were misinformed about the last non-German team to win the Mercedes-Benz Junior Cup. The last one was in 2016, actually. It was Rapid Vienna. And thanks to Bernd Dursberger for sharing that with us. So that's why they get invited to these tournaments. They've had success at the junior level, and it's an interesting thing when you get into the European game, and this is probably going to be a topic for soccer over there down the road, is countries like Austria and Hungary and clubs like Rapid Vienna that have a history of producing talent. What happens? Why are they not able to string it together and compete at higher levels? It's definitely something I'd love to dig into with our garlic bread warlord friend Nick Alifi and look at some of the talent that's come through and look at just the history of some of these clubs. Rapid Vienna is a powerhouse, and they've been a powerhouse at the youth levels for sure. And why is it financial? Is it the league? Is it leadership of the team. What is it that is that roadblock to making that jump to being one of those teams that can surprise you in a Champions League or in a Europa League and pull those upsets against the heavyweights? That'll be a fun topic. So, Nick Khalifi, write that one down, and we'll get into it. More goals. No, that's not a hot drop. That's going to be like a full show. Five Stripe Daily shares a Thierry Henry goal from Arsenal against Manchester United. I'm not sure of the year. Beckham was with Manchester United because it's in the clip. So it would have to be before 2005. I don't remember what year Manchester United wore those kits. But it's a ridiculous Henry goal where ball's played into him, he's back to goal, about 20 yards out, and he flips it up in the air and then hits a volley spinning. It kind of reminds me of a Jurgen Klinsmann goal for Germany in the 94 World Cup where he did the same thing. It's just such a hard thing to do. It's another one of those ultimate skill checks.
How about Van Persie's flying header in the demolition of Spain in the World Cup, the first game of the World Cup?
Ooh, that's one of my favorite calls, too, because I believe the Dutch call, after screaming and going nuts about it, he goes, "Bop! In the face!" That's awesome.
The last goal of that game, by the way, I don't know if it might have been Iron Robben or Schneider who did it, but the last goal of that game is just one of the Dutch players just faking repeatedly. He's got it in the box, and he just feints on it repeatedly, and the keeper's just crawling towards it, trying, for God's sakes. I think it's Iker Casillas. Is just diving and crawling towards the ball hopelessly, and he finally just puts him out of his misery and chips it in. It's a really vicious game.
Looks like the Henry goal was in the 2000-2001 season.
Okay, cool. Couple questions on the Academy, and thanks everybody for checking out the interview with Tony Annan. John Sosby, I will shoot Tony a message and see. John's actually going to be there. John gets to watch the young Five Stripes at the Mercedes-Benz Junior Cup. John and his daughter will be there cheering on Atlanta. So there will be Atlanta fans cheering on the kids at the Mercedes-Benz Junior Cup. Very cool, John. I'll shoot Tony a message and tell him to look out for you. Josh Eisenberg with a couple questions. What's the latest with Michael Illy? He went to Clemson, didn't play or barely played, and I want to say, Jarrett, wasn't there an injury in his freshman year at Clemson, if I'm not mistaken?
I believe there was.
I think so.
I don't think it was catastrophic, but if I'm not mistaken, it was like one of those that it's not catastrophic, but it just keeps you out. It just nags.
Yeah, and then he transferred to Mercer, and I believe he played a decent bit at Mercer this past year. So keep an eye on Illy. There's a few Atlanta United guys at Mercer and Georgia Southern in the vicinity that we'll have to keep an eye on. Josh also asked about the outlook for Will Vent in 2019. Will Vent's part of this squad, so we'll get a chance to see him in the indoor small-sided format. I know that the initial outlook was hopeful that he would get into Atlanta United 2 games in 2018. Didn't happen. I think the timing just made it very difficult for him to get settled enough, and there were other guys ahead of him in the pecking order. So I would assume that he would definitely be one of the academy guys who plays with ATL UTD2 in 2019. So I think you'll get a chance to see Vent at the academy level, but also at the USL level. So excited to see that.
Let's see. Also on the board, Kevin from Charlotte is searching. He's trying to figure out how to rewatch the San Jose game.
I have no idea. It's not on ESPN Plus because it was a Univision game. I don't know if it's out there anywhere. I don't think Univision or Univision Deportes keeps an archive of games they broadcast. That's something that the old MLS Live was really good about, pulling in games from the national broadcasters. And, yeah, you had to wait till they were in the archive, but they were there. This one, I don't know why that's not happening with ESPN Plus, because Fox games seem to be very hit or miss on ending up in ESPN Plus. Some did, some didn't. And then the Univision game, same thing. It was just random as to if it would show up or not. So that's something I hope the league and ESPN Plus works out.
I've still not forgiven them for handing that game not to Taylor Twellman, just so I can hear him incredulously scream at San Jose's defenders in the last minutes for having let off.
Yeah, that was something. I heard that on the bus as we're going to the airport to fly back on the charter, and it's like, really? That moment? That's what you're going to be yelling about? Really? Okay, whatever. Tafka is requesting a quarterly interview with Tony Annan. Maybe. That actually might not be too crazy, Tafka. I'll talk to Tony and see if we can work something out about that. Might not be exactly quarterly, but I think more regular check-ins with Tony and also with Scott Donnelly of Atlanta United too. I think both would be really good, and they're both great interviews. They both, I think, always give you really thoughtful responses and get. I think they're really good at explaining the development process, and that's something that has always been an issue in American soccer. Just truly explaining how player development happens. And Tony is great at that from the academy side. Scott's great at that with the second team side of it. So, yeah, getting more with them, that'll be a goal for us in 2019. I'm with you. We'll work on it. Let's take a break, come back, wrap everything up. Last call for favorite goals, last call for any questions, last call for any responses on the Twitters at Soccer Down Here. Send it now. We'll be right back.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Welcome back. Final segment, Soccer Down Here, January 4th, Friday flashback edition, talking about your favorite goals ever. We've had lots of great ones linked and shared and videos posted and reminding each of us about great goals. It's been a lot of fun. So thanks, everybody, for
And Tony Annan remind us of a great goal.
Tony Annan chimed in with one that had not been mentioned. Paul Gascoigne with, I think, the best goal of his life. Unbelievable goal against Scotland. Find that video and share that one too. Andrew Baker shares a rumor with us. Claudio Rezende of... I am pulling up his link. Claudio is a reporter who covers Atlético Mineiro out of Brazil. Claudio says that Ezequiel Barco is on their list of players that they like or are interested in or on a wish list. MLS Transfer Buzz makes a very good point. Atletico Mineiro, the highest they've ever paid for a player is $7 million. Atlanta United paid $15 million for Ezequiel Barco. I don't think Atletico Mineiro is going to be able to bring in Ezequiel Barco. So I think this rumor can...
Luka Modric's on my wish list too, but you don't see me lining it up. So
yes, I have a large wish list that is not going to happen. So there you go. Tafka chimes in about the Martinez goal against Portland. Said he also gave the slightest of feints that makes Attinella commit to a shot-stopping posture that allowed Joseph to round him. Maybe. I think Joseph was just flying. I don't even know if Attinella was able to think through that much. I think it was just Joseph flying past him, and Attinella was like, "Oh, I'm toast," and Joseph taking that little extra step to be able to slot it home. Maybe his movement. I think sometimes we give him credit for a feint when I don't even know if it is. I think Joseph's movement is just a little unorthodox. And it's unexpected. And this was something, I mean, this is a really weird comparison, but I'm going to go ahead and roll with it anyway. I always remember having this conversation with guys when we were playing intramurals at the University of Georgia. And we'd have a team of, guys who had grown up playing and had played at a good level. And then you'd play a team of guys who were good athletes, but not great soccer players, and they would move in a way that they'd come dribbling at you with not really skill, just awkwardness in terms of you're looking at them and you see them move and you're like, okay, well, they're going to do this, but they don't move like a typical player you face. Joseph is able to combine ridiculous skill and talent with being somewhat unorthodox in his movement. Even the penalty run-up is unorthodox, but the goal against Red Bulls where he takes that little step, where he hesitates. We've seen that so many times. He does unexpected things, and it throws defenders, it throws goalkeepers. How many times have we seen Joseph put a defender or a goalkeeper on the ground? Like, it happens all the time.
And, I mean,
he is just unorthodox. I mean...
He is, and that's part of, I think, his effectiveness. Okay, more goals as we wrap. Go ahead, John.
Okay. No, just think of it. I just think of it like, golfers on the PGA Tour whose swings are different, but they all end up doing the same thing.
Yeah, no. That doesn't matter because there's not another golfer who's falling down because Jim Furyk has a stupid backswing. Like that, it's different because you're talking about a 1v1 situation. It's like it's Allen Iverson, breaking your ankles with a crossover that nobody could do. It's stuff like that where your unorthodox nature is not just successful, but it is throwing opponents off, and that's what Joseph is so good at doing. Hopefully he puts more people on the ground and sitting down on the field this season. I'm looking forward to it. More goals to talk about. Another one we hadn't mentioned yet. John Nason with another good call. Ryan Giggs, 1999 semifinal replay against Arsenal, and all of the chest hair imaginable after he scored the goal that put Manchester United in.
He's a cardigan sweater.
Yeah, that thing was ridiculous. Great goal and a lot of chest hair. A lot of chest hair. Four-card Ahmed. Oh, go ahead.
Has anybody mentioned Zlatan last year? His first goal?
Nope, hadn't happened yet.
Where he just picked it out of the air and hits a two-seamer.
Oh, come on.
45 yards away. That's great.
I will always remember being in the hotel lobby getting ready to go freeze in Minnesota, and it's me and Egan and Gargan and Jillian and Mike and Matt Moore, and we're waiting on our Ubers, and we asked them to put that game on. And there was, I think the technical staff was watching it in a meeting room just down the hall, and there was a little bit of a delay between the TV at the bar and the TV down the hall. The TV down the hall was just a little bit ahead. So, throw the game on, we're waiting on our Uber, we're just chatting, and you hear this ridiculous sound that I had never really heard from down the hall. And it's like, well, what happened in the game? So we turn around to the TV, and we're like, oh, my God. Zlatan Ibrahimovic just did that. Cancel the Uber. We're watching the end of this game. And yeah, that's how it went. So it was kind of crazy. Fourcard Ahmed with his favorite Messi goal last minute against Real Madrid. This was 2017, and we will be sharing that one. Messi's had so many just ridiculous goals. It's hard for me to even pick out a favorite. He's had so many moments like that.
And that's the thing. It's like they're all so good. They all just kind of blend together when you're trying to figure one out. It's like, well, what about, then you might get your facts a little mixed up, but it's because he's done it so many times.
Michael Valverde with the Gareth Bale goal from the Champions League final. Completely agree, and that's another one that I was surprised hadn't been mentioned.
And Donovan against Algeria and Neil Roberts' breakaway goal for the 81 Rowdies.
Yeah, you got to find, Michael, the Neil Roberts 81 Rowdies goal and share that one with us, because I do not know that one at all.
And let's see. Howard says the best goal he's ever seen, Dejan Savicevic stripping Rafa Nadal's uncle and lobbing Zubizarreta from the touchline in the 94 Champions League final. I
just love that he took the ball off of Rafa Nadal's uncle. That's pretty cool.
It's just all of the subplot.
That's a nice bonus. Jimmy Vance with Andy Cole and Dwight York tearing Barcelona apart. Another one. That strike force, Cole and York, is one that never gets enough credit. They were insane. Yeah, John Nason with another Zlatan goal, the 30-yard bicycle kick against England. Forgot about that one.
Yeah.
Hey, Zlatan's capable of stupid plays, that's for sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Josh Eisenberg, favorite goal was Rooney and Acosta.
From 2018, yes.
Yes. And watching that one all over again, just the 60-yard dime drop that Rooney had for that one is just absolutely ridiculous.
So our buddy Felipe Cardenas shared some of his favorite goals from 2018. Go check him out at Felipe Carr on Twitter. The Cruyff goal against Sweden, which, yes, I will absolutely put that one on the list from 2018. James against the U.S. men's national team. Felipe might have been a little biased there, but it's still a good one. And Dario Benedetto for Boca Juniors, his turn and goal. Another absurd one from Boca. So Benedetto's actually been linked to a Chinese club for like $15 million. There was talk about MLS for Benedetto, but it looks like he's going to go to China for the cash. All the cash.
Straight cash, homie.
Lots of new stuff to touch on real quick before we finish up. In Columbus, there should be some substantial news on the Columbus Crew front today. Bezbachenko and Caleb Porter will likely be official and be named as the GM and president in Bezbachenko's case and the new manager in Caleb Porter. Source from Yahoo Sports says Josh Wolf and Nico Estevez will be a part of Greg Berhalter's U.S. men's national team staff. There's the Josh Wolf question that we've had come up quite a bit. Looks like he's going to follow Berhalter to the national team. If there's not a head coaching job out there for him right now, it's probably the best move. I don't think it rules out, Austin down the road. If you want to follow Precourt over to Austin, that could happen. But this is a good landing spot for Josh Wolf right now, and he continues his development. He will be that top assistant that will be linked to jobs whenever they open up an MLS, I think, starting now. I think he's going to be that guy. So keep an eye on Josh Wolf in the long haul, but he'll be with the national team and Berhalter staff, according to Yahoo Sports. That's a big one.
And trying to see what there was. You got news on New England, kind of, sort of?
No.
No?
No,
Possibly
they posted an article. They posted an article talking about possibly signing players. That's not news. They made that comment a while back. They just posted an article about it, which was kind of weird to post an article talking about signing TAM players. Okay.
Pomadou Ka is joining the FC Cincinnati coaching staff. Now he's an assistant coach, being upgraded from a scout position for FC Cincinnati.
Yeah, not a major shock. He's got a history with Alan Koch, so makes some sense there as FC Cincinnati rounds their staff out, getting ready for opening day, which is not that far off. Talking about 2 months before the MLS season gets underway. I think that's a show. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks, everybody, for all of your tweets and your favorite goals and reminiscing with us. Five Stripe Daily posted the Paul Gascoigne goal as well.
Keep posting links and YouTube videos.
Five Stripe Daily apologized for the music, which means I've got to listen to that when we finish up because what in the world?
No.
We'll see. But thanks, everybody. Keep posting videos. Keep sharing your favorite goals with us. We really appreciate it. We'll be back on Monday for an Overreaction Monday. I don't know what we'll be overreacting about, but I'm sure we'll find something because we're pretty good at doing that. Have a great weekend. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.